That's the next big thing. AI leaves your screen and it starts to interact with the physical world.
We have you here because you are AI expert. So tell us about your background.
The story was, I worked for a mass customization startup in Germany. They did cereal. You have an online interface where you add ingredients. Nobody believed this would be successful, but to date, it's the most successful startup in Germany.
Okay, so you're at the custom cereal company, and then what?
Then I wasn't, because I went to China and we started this startup, which went well. We even had funding, but my co-founder, he decided to leave the company. And that was quite early. And then we didn't have the funding anymore. So I didn't have a dime in my pocket and I was in China. I needed to get back to Germany. And someone reached out on LinkedIn and said, hey, do you want to start working in SaaS? I said, no way, I'm not going to work in SaaS. What's SaaS even? And then someone else reached out and said, hey, do you want to work in recruiting? I was like, oh yeah, I do want to work in recruiting. Then someone else reached out and said, you should come work for a consultancy company. And I was like, yeah, good money. I'm going to work for consulting. But the vibes with the recruiting company were so good. I joined that company. And a year later, I founded my own company. And 7 years later, that company got acquired by Randstad. And that's how I landed at Randstad. So I built their sales teams for permanent placement in Germany. I was also a solution architect for digitalization because in my recruiting startup, I had built our own CRM software. And then somehow I got entrusted with leading our global AI strategy.
How did you get the global AI strategy for Randstad?
I had worked with GenAI, with large language models starting in 2019, so about a year before. That was still GPT, just GPT, so it was GPT-2 actually. And then we had this global AI conference at Randstad. And somehow I made it onto the guest list. And you know me, I don't know when to shut up, so I didn't. And then our CEO said, hey, there's this guy from Germany, you need to get him. So he called my boss, and my boss called me and said, let's do this.
That's amazing. So you're at Randstad, and you were the person who I guess worked with us on the Dialpad contract. And
one of those. Yeah,
one of them. Were you doing other things for Randstad too?
Yeah.
What was the AI part that you were responsible for with Randstad besides us?
Yeah, Randstad has an enterprise architecture team. It's a huge company, right? 40 markets. All of these markets, they have at least 3 different tech stacks. So you need a global enterprise architecture team.
It's like one of the largest recruiting companies in the world, right?
The largest,
The largest recruiting company in the world, yeah.
And I was in the enterprise architecture team as enterprise architect for AI strategy. Okay. So I was overlooking all of these programs. We built Randstad GPT, which was a fun project. I sat down on a Friday, I started coding. We had this nice chatbot by Monday. But we also had projects like a job ad generator. That was, as soon as ChatGPT released, we knew we needed to use this to get rid of writing job ads manually. So we did that. We rolled it out. We did large transformation projects in Google Workspace. So we rolled out Gemini and did all the enablement programs and stuff. Built training programs for AI literacy, which we've also done here at Dialpad.
How much help did you have for this? Like, how big was your group that was working with you on it?
So when I started, we didn't really have a team.
Were you coding?
No, so I reached out to people, right? And the good thing about AI is if you ask someone if they want to join you to do AI, you're not going to get any
especially
no's.
that, and at a big, huge enterprise company.
Yeah. And everyone was in on it, and everyone knew a bit about it. So quickly, we had a whole team for strategy and governance and responsible AI, which to this very day is running the show at Randstad. And I was a very small part of that.
They just gave you people and they're like, you can work on this. We need to find people and this is important. Did they obviously probably thought this was a big deal that they brought you in too?
It wasn't like that, right? Because I was reporting to the enterprise architecture lead and to the global CIO. So that by itself gives you kind of a mandate. And then as long as you as long as you don't ask for permission, but ask for forgiveness if it doesn't work out, then you're actually fine. And
they just gave you people.
They didn't.
You just grabbed them?
I grabbed people and then I asked them, do you have time? Is this okay? Is this going to affect your other work?
Okay, so it wasn't necessarily like this is their job, they're on your team. No. It was like, we need volunteers, we need people who are interested in this and learning this.
Yeah, exactly.
The reason why I say that is because we talk to a lot of CIOs and everyone's trying to talk about AI transformation. And to hear that at a company so big like Randstad, you could have someone like you come in, as long as they have enough pull, enough power, you can kind of just be like, I need help, who's there, and get people. Because I was never sure do you need people to be fully dedicated? Can you just get volunteers? Overall, did that work? And were there challenges with that?
It's always easy to say, I need a project manager, I need someone for legal, I need someone from IT, and 3 devs and whatever. But that also puts you under a lot of pressure because you need to constantly figure out what results you need to show. And that was the early days. That was like T+2 after ChatGPT got released. So we had to figure out how this even works in a highly regulated environment such as recruiting, right? You can't just dump all CVs into ChatGPT. Or company data into ChatGPT. We didn't have zero data retention back then. It was all feed and train our models from OpenAI.
So you got started on that then really early for a big company like that.
Yeah. It was literally day 0.
It's just amazing to me that a big company like that with obviously a ton of sensitive data, typical enterprise, that they were still even like, this is it. This is the future. We need to get involved. Because I just was at something where it was a roundtable conference of a bunch of CIOs. There's like 30 of them. This was, again, now a few years ago. And I was shocked that everyone is already using AI. Normally, it's like too scary. It's too sensitive. PII. This is the first time I've ever seen enterprises pick up something so fast.
Yeah, it's true. But for Randstad, it wasn't the first time.
This. It's like all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, this could automate a bunch of stuff and it's threatening to our business. Oh, we're all in now. Before, it's like, oh, we've got to go through legal and go through all these checks and balances.
But to be fair, for Randstad, it wasn't the first time, right? In 2023. So they had created their AI principles, which is a fair and responsible AI policy, back in 2018. That was way before ChatGPT. And they'd been doing AI for a decade. So nothing new to them. Throughout Randstad, we had a lot of experts, people with a lot more knowledge than me, working on different parts of AI. Technology, governance, compliance, training. It was more a matter of getting all of those people together and building them into a team because they were spread out globally, they were spread out across different operating companies, so they weren't in the same reporting lines. And it was actually just a matter of getting them together. And as soon as that happened, it just
So which is a big common topic of people want AI transformation or use AI to enhance their business. But everyone's got their old ways and it's also new and it's changing every month. They're asking how do you pull it off? And I think a lot of it is logistics and team organization more than it is using the right model. It's the way of operating has to completely change. You were able to, when you came in, decide and say, hey, we need to have these different teams. You do need to get these people together to make it work.
Yeah.
You couldn't just be you trying to solve problems. You did have to get buy-in from so many different areas.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of stakeholder management, a lot of communications, and then just, trusting people that they'll find the right other people.
Yeah.
And letting them do their thing.
Did it work?
It really did work. Randstad was very successful with AI, and they still are to this very day. I mean, we're still talking to them about it, right?
You and I geek out all the time about AI. What do you think about what could be automated and what couldn't be automated? And even then down to, I feel like the first thing people looked at was software engineering. Oh, that's that. Now we can vibe code. We don't need software engineers anymore. And I think people are realizing very quickly that you still do. And some of the best at using AI are actually the most senior people in a lot of cases. People are talking about that a lot.
And they don't talk about it. They just use it. They just use it.
Yeah. They just use it. It's just a tool to them. Yeah. So what do you think about the possibilities of AI, just in general?
So I think, a lot of the time when you talk about AI these days, it's just large language models or small language models this year, end of last year.
But it's a language model, yeah.
Yeah, it's a language model. Yeah. And that's kind of plateauing. You see these releases, GPT-5, Gemini 3. And then you see people GPT-5, Gemini 3.
yeah.
And it's not the same level of excitement that we had a year ago, right? But there's so much more to AI. And as soon as we cross that border where AI leaves your screen and it starts to interact with the physical world, through robotics, for example. That's the next big thing. And I'm already probing my wife if we'll get one of those humanoid robots. I don't think that's going to happen. Well, she won't allow it. Maybe a robotic...
wait. Until it gets really hard for everything you want to do. Yeah. It becomes so easy to get them.
But once we have those, I think it'll be beyond our imagination. Right now, we talk a lot about displacement of jobs, right? What will AI do that humans used to do? And then we talk about, well, AI is never going to do farming, and they're not going to do... Yeah, exactly. That's not going to happen because it doesn't interact with the physical world. But it will once we get to robotics. And if you look at... I saw a video about a robotic hand, and it's already so fine-grained. It can really do anything. And that's going to change a lot, because then all of a sudden that argument... As soon as you interact with the physical world, you don't need it anymore. We talked about empathy in the past. That's not a thing anymore. You can have empathetic large language model conversations. And a lot of young people, maybe also older people, are using it for therapy, right? For having a conversational partner. Do you see Interstellar?
Yeah, of course.
At the end of it, when they live in...
the big blimp or whatever it is.
This is what it's going to get us. That's the kind of leaps we're going to be making. We cannot imagine today what that's going to look like. That's going to be the kind of moment that we'll see where it's just, wow, I did not see this coming.
You've got some really big visions. This is big.
I don't think they're just mine, but...
I know, but there's a lot of people that they go all directions. That's not possible, or it's doomsday, and everyone ends up with, there's the have and have-nots.
Yeah.
And there ends up being...
Just look at how far we've come, right?
The people who take advantage of that stuff, and the people who are going to be the ones in the spaceship, and then the ones who are left behind. It's just interesting. There's so many different angles to it. The thing that was the most interesting to me is in software engineering is that people said, oh, it can code now. Oh, software engineers, we don't need those anymore. I was like, I don't know if you know how this works, but software engineers are really good at using technology by default. I think as AI comes into our lives and advances, the jobs change. Society always finds new ways for new jobs. Yeah. When the computer came out, when the internet came out, when cloud came out, it just changed people's job descriptions. It didn't mean there was less jobs. There was more innovation and different types of jobs. And I remember when the cloud came out, and it was, I was talking to Craig, my co-founder, and like, hey, we don't need 100 people to build our idea anymore. We need 20. We don't need to hire all these people to set up servers and figure out how to scale this thing. Cloud came out 10 plus years ago, and there's as many jobs as ever in technology. What ends up happening is just more innovation. I think things could evolve where there's still normal income. It's still an amazing tool. You still can be better at your job with it, but it's just like a tool like the computer was. And I don't know the answer. I'm just saying I could see it also going that way. Or it goes your way, which is basically we're all socialists, which isn't a bad thing necessarily if everyone's got a great life. If there's no poverty, if there's no hunger, that would be great. And there's a lot of stress with jobs. Maybe if people don't have to work, and then they don't care about if they have an amazing...
But that's not what I'm saying, right? I'm not saying it's all puppies and rainbows. It's not like everyone's going to be rich and nobody has to work. If society doesn't take this seriously, and if governments don't collaborate on regulation and stuff, then this could go a different route. Then you could have a very rich part of the population and a very poor part. And then you have these dystopian science fiction movies coming to life. But I don't think this has to happen. I think there's a good chance it doesn't, but it's ultimately up to us.
Yeah. So the big conversation a lot of times is AGI...
Oh, I was dreading...
Is AGI
I was
real?
dreading AGI.
Is it going to be real? What does it mean, I guess? And do you think it's a possibility?
So artificial general intelligence, is it real, right? How do you measure it? How do you quantify when you get to AGI? If you took the Turing test, then we'd have AGI today. But it's not well defined. I think, yes, we'll get there. But isn't it super intelligence now, artificial super intelligence now the new
Which
thing?
also means you could do the same thing. What does that mean? What does super intelligence mean?
No, well,
super intelligence, like infinity intelligence.
pour me a cup of coffee. If we can get to a robot doing pour me a cup of coffee, I think, or Alexa, pour me a cup of coffee, and it fetches my humanoid robot, and he does it or she does it.
If you can do the physical, the robots, then it is, and it has the intelligence in it.
Across disciplines.
I guess it's like to me, AGI is, can a robot / computer do anything a human can do? Is good or better? Because then you can look at anyone's job and you don't need it anymore.
Or if I tell my robot, hey, I had a shitty day, and it doesn't sit down next to me and puts his arm on my shoulder, but it says, hey, let me get your wife. You need to have a human conversation. Maybe that's when we get to AGI.
That's really smart. You've just gone full circle. It's like probably too geeky, but recursion of this whole thing. But the robot is trained then to connect us better to humans and help us with humans. But if AGI is what people say it is, you won't know the difference between the human and the robot.
But look at our Agentic platform, right? It handles any customer conversation that comes in. For myself, a lot of the time when I'm on the phone, I just want to talk to a human. I would not call a chatbot. I would not chat with a chatbot or talk to a voice bot that cannot connect me with a human. If at the end of the conversation it says, okay, let me file a ticket for you, then...
Do you think you will, in your vision for the future, because you know this stuff a lot and you're tied to all this, do you think you will know that it's a human or not? Or do you not care, but you do want to be told that it's a human because it's important to you that it's an actual person?
No, I don't think I'd know if it's a human. I don't think I'd know today. Mm-hmm. If you listen to ours, you wouldn't know if it's a human or not. But I also don't want to be lied to, right? I want this to be responsible AI. I want this to be transparent. So if they tell me I'm being connected with a human, it should be a human. And there are people who legitimately don't want to talk to AI. I don't mind. I absolutely do enjoy it. But there are people who don't want to, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. If you don't want to, you don't have to.
Humans are, I guess, in control of this planet right now. And we obviously are running the businesses. We are supposed to be in control. It's for us. It's to have a better life. Well, having a better life is, in a lot of ways, human connection. You need sometimes the human touch. You're going to need to have the personal relationship. And in fact, if you look at enterprise and businesses, or anyone in any job or family, it is human connection. We took out, a partner to dinner, and we're best friends now. That is super important to both of us because we now both trust each other. And now we like working together. So we're going to do more business together. No matter what you do, we're not going to simulate that with AI. And as long as humans are in charge, which they always will be, then it's just going to always be important by nature. You don't want to replace all of it. There still should be an ideal world where there's still humans there loving it, but the easy stuff is already taken care of. Or the easy but annoying stuff is already taken care of. And no one wants to do these trivial things anymore. They shouldn't have to. It's 2025.
And just look at jobs that were being done 100 years ago, which we wouldn't consider jobs today, right? It'll be the same. It'll be the same in 20 years from now. And I think AI and robotics, anything your mind and your body can do today, they'll be able to do. So forget about those things. But then the one thing they don't have is, you talked about trust and you talked about friendship, but what that comes down to is conscience, right? And machines don't have a conscience. And that's why you want humans to rule the world, because they have a conscience. And even if it's rational to push that button, your conscience will tell you not to do it. So that's why we need to be in control.
Totally agree. Here at Dialpad, we've been investing a lot in everything agentic, and agentic is the most talked about thing. It's funny how now you don't hear a single person or company talking about just AI anymore. You have to say agentic. We agree. It is the next phase of AI. It seems pretty obvious. There's tons of money going at it. It is the idea of taking action with the AI, not just being your therapist. We obviously have done a lot with that. We've experienced a lot. We've been doing it for many years, some form of it. Of course, it's advanced over the years. What can agentic stuff do for businesses? How real is it? And what is it going to be able to do?
So what it can do today is it can easily deflect or resolve 60 to 70% of your average customer interaction, right? So let's say you need to file a refund. Easy, can do it. Password resets. We talked to a customer a couple of weeks ago, they're working with us now. They do 25,000 password resets a month. That's a team of 10. All they do all day is
Just
password resets. I mean, that would drive me crazy.
But there's so many things like this, right?
Yeah.
There has to be so many examples of that. Yeah, continue.
And why shouldn't AI do this, right? Because it's emotional ballast for the human agent doing it. Ideally, you'll figure out that you forgot your password before you get to the office. So maybe you're on the metro or maybe you're driving and you'll have to talk to someone. You don't want to pay a lot of attention to it. Unless you're driving, you probably just want to text real quick and continue the conversation and get it sent to you. That's a perfect use case for Agentic. But also all of the interactions where people, they get frustrated because they have to wait for a very long time. So the reason I said I'm going to work on Agentic, very simple. My dog got diagnosed with cancer in January. She made it. She's completely recovered. But I had to speak with the clinic, with the vet, and with the insurance at least 3 to 4 times a day. And every single conversation was 10 minutes of waiting. And after the first doctor's appointment, we were told she wouldn't make it. We had around 2 weeks. So you'd be crying on the phone for hours a day. You had uncertainty. Now, with our agent, I would not have to wait. I just get an answer immediately. I'd know what's the MRI result. I just get that. Are you going to pay for it? Or do I have to pay the total cost of the therapy, which was 50,000 euros? Yeah. Am I going to have to pay for this? And I was being passed on from one agent to the next one to the next one for weeks. That's why I said I'm going to do Agentic, because this needs to be resolved in one single conversation. And it can be resolved. We've seen this. And that's the beautiful thing.
It was supposed to be automated many years ago.
And I was getting angry at the agent, at the human agent, right? Because it wasn't their fault, but I was frustrated. And now they were frustrated because they were being shouted at. And then they get home and they probably have a pet of their own and they are telling their partner, hey, I had to turn down this guy. His dog is dying. That's just not nice. Yeah. That's not how humans are supposed to interact. But now, if I had Agentic, I would only perhaps talk with that human agent if it's an edge case, if it's really the one thing that Agentic cannot solve, and my frustration would be so much lower. So it's a good experience for me as a customer, and it's a good experience for the human agent.
Because you just care, I mean, as we've seen with all of our customers throughout the years, and they are end customers, people just want solutions as fast as possible. Yep. And sometimes the human does need to talk to them, but sometimes they just need to get their thing done. And they don't want to sit on some chat or on a call, especially when so much of the stuff is already digital. The things you can do, everything is digitized. It doesn't make sense that you'd have to wait to have a human then go do the digital thing. The AI agent could just do it for you. Yeah. And there's so much like this. We've just announced this amazing agentic platform completely built in to our Dialpad contact center and sales centers, where you can do everything you can do connected to AI, which we already had a lot of that already, but we sort of launched this brand new, fully agentic version. What is special about, and what was so hard about this for Dialpad?
So when I joined, I was like, why don't we just do greenfield? We can literally build an entire agentic platform in 4 weeks. And we got pushed back and we said, no, it's not possible. It'll still be a year, and if we do the whole thing, it'll be maybe 1.5 years. And ultimately, I was convinced that we shouldn't go greenfield. But it took me time,
basically start from scratch.
Start from scratch, just complete disregard for anything we've ever done at Dialpad. Yeah. Because I wasn't emotionally attached to Dialpad, right? I liked the brand, I liked the product, but I thought, Agentic, why do we need that whole CCaaS? Then I started talking to customers, and it became apparent that they actually want human escalations. It wasn't obvious to me. They want human escalations. They want to connect to IVR workflows. I didn't know about that because I had never spoken to someone with disabilities that couldn't speak in the phone. They wanted to type a number, so you needed DTMF. For me, DTMF, that was 1990s. You don't need that
press anymore. 1, press 2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But some people have to press 1, press 2. Yeah. I also didn't know that when someone works in a call center, when they pick up a call, they could get a summary. We call it context. but they could get a small pop-up screen telling them what the previous conversation was. So when you get handed over to the human agent, the human agent doesn't have to be like, hey, can you tell me what the last 15 minutes of your conversation were actually about?
The typical, like, you get transferred from the online chat bot to the human finally because it's not working, and then they have no idea what you're talking about.
Exactly.
And you have to repeat yourself.
And if we hadn't decided to integrate with the entire Dialpad platform, we would not have any of that.
Yeah.
Another example is our noise cancellation. We have, hands down, I think the best noise cancellation I've ever tested. If I speak to ChatGPT in voice mode at the supermarket or at McDonald's, it's going to pick up background noise. And that's going to completely destroy my conversation because it just keeps getting interrupted. We own the entire voice stack. The telephony teams, we've completely integrated with that.
So everyone mostly interacting with a company, they don't install something. So they're not installing, video conferencing product or using even a browser for video or calling. They're using text messaging, or they're using their regular phone, calling through a phone number. They don't have noise cancellation necessarily built in. Our entire system is constantly running optimized audio, even though they're calling in from their random cell phone in the parking lot.
Yeah, so we wouldn't have all of that, right? And that was challenging because all of a sudden you had a small team that was previously building our generative agent, the AI agent, version 1, that needed to work with all of these global teams. Different time zones, different teams, different tech stacks, and you need to integrate that. And that was super challenging. And for me as product manager, I didn't know a thing about CCaaS, and I'm still learning a lot. We just had an offsite, and I was sitting there looking at them drawing on the whiteboard. I didn't understand a lot of that, but we have all of that expertise. You need to gather all these people, and you need to get them aligned on a vision and get them excited about it. And that'll take you a couple of weeks to actually get that alignment. But once you have it, it's so much easier. And now we've built in 6 months almost our 18-month product roadmap. By month 12, end of the year, we'll have what we initially had planned for 2.5 years.
So. And again, because of what you said, the ability to build on this thing where, we have over 40,000 companies using Dialpad already for their sales, for customer service, for all business communications with customers. We have the platform where we could just launch it all on one thing. And now you have the perfect combination of human with agentic, with AI, because I know you believe and I believe that, just like we talked about earlier, the future is the world isn't going to be just one. It's going to be a combo. And it's going to have things where it escalates between, hey, I'm a AI agent taking your call, and I most of the time can maybe do something and get you off the line faster. But at the same time, maybe the right answer is you need to go to a certain person. And you need to go not just to any person, you need to go to the one who's the best to answer your question or handle your problem. And having it all in one system gives us, as you know, like the ability to say this thing qualified them, or this thing said, hey, we now figured out what their issue is for you already, but now we know you need to get to this expert. And to have it be able to do that, and like you said, it goes straight to the agent, the human agent, and right there it tells you exactly what the AI agent just had a conversation about. It might have even been a 10-minute long conversation, it could have been, but it would be summarized so they can see it. They can see it right there. Now you have this amazing transition where people aren't feel like I got to repeat myself or give my authentication again. Now you have everything you need right there, and it's got a history of everything. So it's not even just what the AI agent talked to you about. It's what the AI agent talked to you about last month too, which is also important for human relationships, as we talked about.
And like you said, you always want to talk to the best agent, right? When I was still working at Randstad, what got my attention with Dialpad was the transcriptions, because they were really good. But what had me sold were playbooks and scorecards, because I was looking at it from a sales leader position, and I figured, wait, we have this problem where 80% of our sales were made by 20% of the consultants. What if I could make the other 80% that weren't as good, just as good, because we had playbooks and they knew when to say what. And now we have our AI assistant and we have our AI agent. So this really closes the loop. And that's something which is really unique to us.
Yeah, so having the benefit of the human conversations with the AI conversations gives us constant learning. Mm-hmm. It gives us the ability to have what we call the full customer journey, not a partial customer journey, where you have everything you need for any type of interaction, unified analytics. It gives us the insights that are not just for the human conversations, but also the AI conversations. We just launched our Agentic customer service.
Vibe customer service.
What we like to call Vibe customer service.
Yes, it grew on me.
It's simple, and it makes you feel like this is simple and I can use this. So much of this stuff has been really difficult workflows and drag and drop interfaces and really fragile things that can break. Even now, it still feels like that has been how some of this stuff is, even post ChatGPT era. What are you excited about for the next, 6 months, year of Dialpad Agentic?
So we've got something big coming in the next 6 weeks. I can't talk too much about it. Just imagine you could build your own agent, not in a couple of hours, not in a couple of days. Most of them actually right now take a couple of weeks, even months, right, to build and deploy. What if you could do it in a couple of minutes? So that's what we're working on. But we'll have to wait because it's not ready yet. And next year is going to be super exciting because Agentic is all about specialization. You need to be an expert in a certain domain. And if you have, 500,000 minutes of data, when it comes to those password resets we talked about, how much of that is going to be useful for password resets? Now, if you have 10 billion minutes of business conversation data, you can be very certain that for any niche use case that you find, you'll still have thousands, hundreds of thousands of minutes of relevant data. We're using that data, we're using this intelligence that we have, building it into a product to help people build stuff themselves. You don't need conversational designer experience. You don't need to be a computer scientist. You don't need AI experience. None of that.
Yeah.
You need to be the expert in your field. You need to know why people need to reset the passwords, know which system to use, and that's it. The rest will do for you.
And it's not going to be, I think there's some stuff that's done they say it's a few minutes, but it's super trivial use cases.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Q&A.
Yeah.
Anyone can do that in a couple of minutes. The longest part is ingesting the knowledge. Building it is not. But that's not going to really move the needle, right? If you really want to move the needle, it's high complexity, and that is non-trivial. It's going to take you a long time to figure out. And I'd actually advise you to have someone help with that. There's so much complexity in it. And if you missed, the edge cases are the ones that land on Reddit. And those are the ones that are going to harm your reputation as a business. So pick your partners wisely.
All right. Thanks, Shezan Kazi.
Thanks, Brian Peterson.
For some amazing AI talk.